Hello and welcome to this third lesson of learning how to read Tibetan. So I'm Adelaide Foster and I've taught Tibetan for many years now, and I've lived amongst Tibetans studying for the Geshe philosophical study program for 13 years in India. So I hope I can help you out learning how to read Tibetan. So last time we saw the three letters ka, ta, and a. Those three letters are the ones on top. They're blue because they are quite low and quite long. So today we'll see 5 new letters. As you can, I think, probably already see, the 2 yellow letters in the middle here, they look quite a lot like their peer above them. And that's, if you look back at lesson 1, that's because of the order of the alphabet and how the alphabet is conceived, and with these letters being actually part of a set in which the consonant is almost the same, but only the tones actually changes. So here we have that. We have the consonant are kind of the same, but the tone is different. So last time we had ka, which was long and low, and just below it we have ka, which is high and short. Ka. The same thing applies to the next letter. So the consonant is almost the same as the one above it, but this time again the letter is high and short. Ta. Ta. So here we have, if I read the ones above next to the peer, it sounds like ka, ka, ta, ta. And then the last yellow letter for today is pa, like PA. Pa. So we've got the 2 last letters for today. They are red because they are low, but this time instead of being long like the blue ones, they're short. So red stands for that, short and low. So the first letter here is ya, like the German, ya. The next one can be a bit difficult for English speakers. Usually it's written NGA, so it's na. So it's nasal. You have to put the back of your tongue on your at the back of your palate. Na. And the sound is nasal. The sound is nasal. In English, you do have this sound when you have words like finishing, like by ng, listening. So instead of finishing with the ing like that, you just add a vowel a after it and vowel a, I should say, and you forget the e before it, so it becomes na. And that's it, you have it. So I read again all of these letters: ka, ta, a, ka, ta, pa, ya, na. I hope you heard the difference. So if you want to put them into this circle, here they are. We still don't have any aspirated and high letters, but they are going to come. Okay, so now we've got to learn how to spell a little bit, and it is quite important Tibetans spend a lot of, like the Tibetan children spend a lot of time learning how to spell. And I think it's important for non-native speakers because even amongst natives, because sometimes the accents and the different accents and dialects are so different that two speakers might not understand each other, and they often rely on spelling words out. So that happens. I've heard it and seen it happen quite often, very often actually. I think it might be more common in India than in Tibet, and that's because in India you can have very different people meeting and often, and so there is more mixture, especially with like people from other regions within India that are traditionally like Tibetan, at least in tradition. So here we have how that works. So we have the letter Ra above, and you've got this plus sign, and you have a Ta below, right? So what happens here, you have two letters stuck together. When that happens, the main letter, remember in any syllables we are looking at identifying main letters. The main letter is the one below when they are stuck together like that. So here you have your main letter is Ta. And when you have a Ra above it, it doesn't do anything. Remember the rule with prefixes? When you have a prefix, it might change the tone of the letter if the main letter is a low letter. That's exactly the same thing with letters above. So when you have this Ra above a Ta, the Ra doesn't do anything. So here the pronunciation of this syllable is just exactly the same as the single letter Ta. But when you spell it out, if you look at what I've written below it, you've got, sorry, it's a bit small, I think. I thought I made it bigger, somehow it became smaller again. So you've got to say, when you spell it out, you've got to say Ra, Ta, 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 and that's how you spell this syllable, Ra, Ta, Ta, Ta. So the Ra stands for the letter on top, so Ra, Ta. Then you say the letter below, and then you say Ta, which is, it's spelled differently, but it's pronounced the same. It means attached to something. So here, the Ta is attached to the Ra, and that's why you say attached to. If you didn't say that, people will get confused on how to write that syllable. So here, and you have to say it's attached, and then you end by the whole syllable, the pronunciation of the whole syllable. So it becomes Ra ta ta ta. That's how you spell this word. This syllable. So if you look at the left here of this syllable, the end syllable, you've got a letter above, a letter below, and a suffix. So remember, identify the main letter. It's always the one below. So here it's Ka. And then remember what happens with a suffix. It's a suffix like Ra will lose its vowel, keep its consonant. So it will become R. So here you have to pronounce Kar. Hope that makes sense. So when you spell this syllable out, you start with the letter above, like before. Then you pronounce the letter below that, and you say it's attached. And then you say the pronunciation of this combination of two letters, and then you add the suffix, and then you finish by saying the combination of the whole syllable. So it sounds like sakataka rakar, sakataka rakar. So hopefully you manage without looking below. So here we have a main letter that's a lower tone letter. So like with prefixes, when you have a letter above it, it's going to change its tone, the tone of the main letter. So instead of being low and short, it moves a quarter of a circle clockwise, like we saw in lesson 2, and it becomes high and short. So instead of being na, it becomes na. Big difference. You don't hear the difference. Don't mind it too much. It will come eventually. So how to spell na? Well, exactly like the previous syllables. It doesn't even have a suffix, so it's easier. You pronounce the letter above, ra, then you pronounce the letter below that, na, then you attach it, so ta, and then you pronounce the whole syllable. So rangatanga, rangatanga. Okay, so we've seen these accents before. And so each of these accents have a name. It can be important to know them if you want to spell and if you're going to use spelling to communicate especially. But that's up to you whether you learn them or not. It's not a life or death situation. It's great if you can, if you manage to. It's not the most important thing so far. So, up to you. So this accent is pretty easy to read. It's a gigu. Name is pretty easy. That's a gigu. That's the one that sounds like E, right? That accent is the one below a letter. Its name is shapkyu. Shapkyu. That's the one that sounds like U. This accent's name is Zhengbu. Zhengbu. That's the one that sounds like E. And finally, this is a naro. That's the one that sounds like O. If you want an example of a syllable with an accent, that's what we'll try in the next slide, to read and spell a syllable with an accent, or vowel, symbol. So here we have it. So on the left you have the whole syllable. So the first thing when you want to read a syllable without the spelling bit, just reading the syllable, is you have to identify the main letter of the syllable. In this case, it's the one below, because when you have two letters on top of each other, it's always the one below that's the main letter. So here we have ka below, but here it became red, and that's because ka is a low letter. When it has a prefix, when it's a main letter and it has a prefix or a letter above it, it turns in that circle, 1/4 of a circle clockwise. So instead of being low and long, it becomes low and short. That's why it's red. And then with the vowel O, it becomes go. So, how to spell it out? So I've written below how to spell it out. First you start with a sa, and then you you continue on with the letter below that, ka, then you attach it, ta, and then that's when things become a little bit more complicated. Then you say the combination of the sa and the ga together, and then you add the vowel sign. So, and you add them by the name. So here you say naro. And then you end the thing by saying the sound of how you will read the syllable. That becomes sagata ga naro go. Sagata ga naro go. Sagata ga naro go. Sagata ga naro go. Okay, so I've put the circle, we've seen the one I was talking about, so you've got letters like ka here with another ko. If they have a superscript letter, a letter on top of them, the same thing applies. We saw with the prefix, it moves a quarter of a circle clockwise until it becomes shorter. So instead of ko, it's go. And if it starts short and low, like na, it also moves a quarter of a circle when it has a prefix or a letter above it. And then it becomes high. Nga. So from nga, it becomes nga. And letters that are high from the start, they don't move. They always stay high. Okay, so we've got a few new words here. The best would be pausing the video, trying to read them, remember how you identify the main letters in a syllable. And once you've read all of them, you can play the video again and try to memorize these words. So I'm going to read them. The first, the horse is ta. The drum is nga. That's a drum, monastery drum. A star is karma. So karma, you know, in English, karma is the law of karma, right? And that's not what it means in Tibetan. It's a Sanskrit word. Karma is the law of karma. In Tibetan, that is le, so it's totally different. So yeah, karma is a star. And the last word, go, is a door. So ta, nga, karma, go. Okay, first sentence. Yay. Congratulations. Okay, so hopefully the pictures or drawings help you out. We've seen the first word before. Ti. Ti means this, right? And then we have kare. Kare means what? And re at the end is the auxiliary, can be translated as is. So what is this? So the normal order of a Tibetan sentence always ends with the auxiliary. So auxiliary at the end, if you have a verb, it's just before the auxiliary. And then the subject and object, you can put them, usually, more commonly, they are in that order, subject, object, but not always. So yeah, the most important is putting really the verb and the auxiliary at the end. So an auxiliary, for those who don't remember the school days, it's to be and to have, should, could, all these kind of weird, strange verbs. So here we have the auxiliary is, or to be. I don't know how to translate it seriously, because the person, like in English you have different person with different forms for the verb, like in using the auxiliary to be, like I becomes am, and you are. So it's not the same thing in Tibetan. The auxiliary itself is re, and then you have two different persons. Don't try to really memorize it. Don't think it's yeah, you don't really need to know yet. It's good if you get used to it, right? So you have two different persons. It's self and other, and the subject isn't really the matter here. It can reflect the subject, but doesn't have to. So here it's the other person. So ti karere, it has nothing to do with you. You can think of it like that. It has nothing to do with you. It's not something that belongs to you or something. So you're just asking, what is this, simply, and you use ti karere, what is this? Ti, this, kare, what? And re is, what is this? If I pointed my finger at the second picture here, it's fire, and you want to answer the question we asked in the previous slide, you've got it here. Ti me re. Ti mere. This is fire. So I'm gonna ask the question, what is this? And you're gonna try to answer. You can pause the video to be sure to use either your reading skills, either your memory skills. Remember how to say gold. So ti karere. Okay, and if you have paused the video, you read it, I'm gonna read it for you anyway. So the answer is ti serre. Ti serre. Ti karere. Ti marre. Ti marre. You've got to be a little bit careful here, not like overly bridge the two last words, mare. Because if you pronounce it like that, it becomes a negative. It isn't. So ti marre, ti marre, ti marre. You have really to make the effort to try to pronounce the r twice. Okay, so memory exercise. Do you remember how to say horse? What about ground or soil? What's a drum? And how do you say door? If you haven't remembered these words, if you don't, yeah, you were not able to answer, it would be amazing if you just like pause the video and look for these words somewhere, like in the, like go back a little bit. But anyway, I'm going to read them for you. So the first horse is ta. Ground, soil is sa. Drum is nga. And door is go. Okay, so reading exercise. That looks complicated, doesn't it? So let's try line by line. I'm going to read line by line. You can pause the video, try to read them. The meaning isn't important yet, really. Just, it's a reading exercise. Okay, so first line. Re. Repe. Tuge. Second line. Nga. Nga. Nge. Re. Third line. Ki, ki, yi, yi. Last line. Yang, tang, song. Songe. Okay, same exercise as before. I'm asking the question, you're trying to answer. Can pause for a little bit, but I'm going to give the answer anyway. Ti karere. Ti marre. Remember, that's butter and not cheese. Okay, first one. Same. So I'm asking the question, you can pause, try to find the answer, but I'm going to give you the answer for each one of these. Te karere. Te karmare. Ti karere. Ti mikre. Te karere. Te rire. Ti karere. Ti debre. Hey, you might have heard the difference I used for the star and for the mountain. I used te. Remember that was that, because it's a bit further away. You can't be close to a star and not try, right? So I used that. So T is this and te is that. Okay, and that's how you actually should be writing the letters. That's how you do it traditionally. That's the order. If it's not comfortable for you, don't mind it. It's a tradition. Yeah, it's up to you whether you want to follow the tradition or not. The tradition was established because of the pen they were using and to avoid smudging ink everywhere. So, but with our pens nowadays, it's okay not to write specifically in that order. And lastly, the two last letters we've seen today. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson. So if you did, like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Have a good day.